Hey guys, this is Juliet, your host. Just popping in to say if you like this podcast, subscribe for more content. I've been creating some great bonus material for you. Please subscribe and download so I can keep bringing you more permission granted. Thanks for your support. Thank you for listening to Permission Granted. I'm your host, Juliet Ricci Lagman. Today on the pod, we have Jackie Casella. She is a writer and founder of Creative Colloquy, a South Sound literary community. Jackie, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's just get into it. Tell me a little about yourself.
Yeah, I am indeed a writer and founder of Creative Colloquy. Really, I mean, and many other things. I have a day job. I am a client success manager, creative marketing agency here in Tacoma, who really shares a lot of the similar values that we have at Creative Colloquy and like what our purpose is there. So it's a nice, it
Mm.
doesn't feel like the old ball and chain. It really is kind of like I still am rooted in the things that I'm passionate about and I love and supporting the Tacoma community. So I have that going for me. Um, and really just excited at any opportunity to insert storytelling and
Mm.
kind of support our creative culture here in the community. So those are things that I'm really passionate about. Whatever project I'm doing, whether it's work or pet project work or trying to like instill those same values in my children. It's something that I find myself talking about a lot.
Oh my gosh. So, I a couple things come to mind as you're talking. Um, One is that we had exchanged some messages back and forth, and I think you said like your day job, you just absolutely love it. So tell me more about that passion that you found your home, really.
Yeah, I think so. I work with a place called Foster's Creative. And it's interesting because I think a lot of creatives, oftentimes, it's not necessarily a lucrative profession, right? You kind of have to
Yeah.
carve out spaces of like, well, how do I make my art, my work? And so we're really unique in that the whole team is we're all creatives in our own sense. And we find ourselves in marketing. But what's really unique about Foster's Creative is that they have a model that's do good and document, and that seems like a very
Mm.
vague term, but it really is like, yes, we're providing marketing materials for various different companies, but our heart is for community collaboration, for supporting your friends and neighbors, for really helping businesses, whatever the business is, to understand that good marketing is supporting your community. It is
Mm.
collaborating with folks. It is uplifting artists and creatives in your community. And it's not necessarily the thing that you sell, right? The thing that you're
Yeah.
selling is really similar to any other service. Like price points are pretty similar. How you provide the service can be pretty similar, but it is about the
Mhm.
people behind it. Like people support people. So storytelling around like just what makes business owners and entrepreneurs
Mm.
unique, and kind of tying that in with like what are they passionate about? What are nonprofits that they care for? What are
Yeah.
creative things that they can pull into their events or their marketing strategies is really like, and I think that's pretty unique. I mean, I haven't worked
Mhm.
for other marketing agencies to this extent, but I feel like that is just something that's the secret sauce that we bring that makes me so happy because I can come to work and realize like we are making ads and it's not all glamorous, but we're also like supporting our friends and neighbors and really
Yeah.
just trying to like make life feel richer through these connections that are sometimes digital and sometimes in person.
Yes, I think that's something unique. I'm just going to say it straight. Unique about Tacoma is that it does create like an incubator, and it just really, Tacoma as a city, the community there really encourages creativity, community coming together, growing. Which brings me to my next question, actually. Creative Colloquy, how did it get started?
man. Excuse me. I, for a short period of time, was the editor for a very short-lived magazine. And through that, we started doing like open mics and events like that, and made a lot of friends. Honestly, there just ended up like there was really close relationships built off of this. Storytelling your own work in front of
Mm.
friends and strangers is very vulnerable and raw and
Mhm.
like a very scary thing. It is different in, even like people that are well seasoned actors can get nervous sharing their own work because it's such like a intimate experience. And so through these open mics and these reading events, we just really, there's a bunch of us that kind of bonded over that, like just
Mm.
the exchange of energy. And when the magazine went away, we had poetry groups in Tacoma, but we kind of felt like there was a void. Like if you wanted to share an essay or a short story or something that wasn't in a poem form, there wasn't really anywhere to
Mm.
go. Like you just,
Yeah.
there felt like there was a void. And so, we'd meet for coffees or beers, and the conversation kind of kept coming up of like, where can we go to share this, to do that? And eventually it was kind of uh, yeah, Jackie, why don't you do it? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. And so we had this venue in mind. There's just beautiful, like the perfect venue for it. I was like, this is the venue I want to do that. And they were very open to having events like this.
What's the
So
menu?
Be Sharp, which is no longer around, and I mourn it
Okay.
all the time.
Yes, it was. I had a studio across the street. It was incredible.
It was just
Yes.
like that perfect, like cozy and kind of like it had a lot of character. It was large
Mhm.
enough. It had food and drink. It had really cool bathrooms. It had a stage,
Yeah.
all the things that you could hope for with an event like this. And they were immediately, they're like, absolutely, like, come on
Oh,
in. Um, and I reached out to a friend and I was like, hey, would you, can I commission you to make a logo? And she was fantastic and charged me far too little, because she's like, yeah, I got you. We're gonna make a logo. And it's so great to kind of like, it's the same logo. We're still using it to this
yeah.
day. And I was like, okay, guys, we're gonna do this. Will you guys show up and share your work if I start this website and carve out this space for an event? And we had received, when you do a thing like that, you don't know what's going to come of it. You don't know if
Yeah.
it's something that the community is going to resonate with, or if it's just going to be you and your homies. And we were totally fine. Like if it was just the 10 of us, like having coffee and listening to each other read stories, we were going to be okay with that. But we
Yes.
found like a lot of the hyper local, the Weekly Volcano, at the time we had Post Defiance around, we had Tacoma Weekly, the hyper local publications gave it some coverage. And so day of, and we showed up and we just had a room full of people.
Oh my
uh,
God.
and it felt like, okay, like this is, other people feel this too. Like people are
Yeah.
here for it. People want to hear each other's stories. It is really like that. We plugged into that like archaic caveman,
Mm.
need to, like that primal need to just sit around a fire and share stories, and
Yes.
here for it. So it was really exciting. And it's really like the momentum just never slowed down. It just kind of felt like, okay, as long as people show up, we're here for it. Like, let's go. So
Oh
that's
my
how
God.
it started. And that was over 11 years ago now, which is wild to me.
That is wild. I just, it's like a blink of an eye because
Yeah.
I moved back to Everett 10 years ago
Oh,
and it feels like yesterday. I swear to God. Like, oh, that's amazing. And I remember going to Be Sharp and attending at least one of the events, and it was incredible
yeah.
and good vibes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, for the group, have you, I just want to tap into the support system there in Tacoma. Have you received any grants or funding from the city or anything like that?
Yeah, so we're not technically a 501(c)(3), but after the first year, we hit up Shun Pike. So we're fiscally sponsored by Shun
Yes.
Pike, which is a phenomenal like umbrella nonprofit foundation that supports Western Washington nonprofits and creative groups. And that kind of allowed us to function as a nonprofit
Mm.
without kind of doing the paperwork with the 501(c)(3), and allows us to apply for grants that we might not might not be able to get otherwise. So we have gotten,
Yeah.
it's tricky because CC is run by volunteers only. We don't have a
Yeah.
staff. None of us are paid. It really is like everyone that commits their time does it just out of a love for our fellow storytellers. We're all writers. We all just love that opportunity to connect and that exchange of energy. And so with that said, all of us have day jobs. All of
Yeah.
us, many of us have families, and so we don't have a dedicated grant writer. It really is kind of
Mhm.
when someone can carve out time. It is usually me. When can I carve out time to do it? So we've remained sustainable. We have a
Mhm.
phenomenal group of supporters. Like our community really shows up. They make donations. When we do
Yeah.
fundraisers, they show up for that. And so that helps us, to like keep the lights on, to keep the website up, to keep the submittable platform up, to keep our Zoom
Yeah.
up in case we want virtual events. And then when we have the opportunity to apply for grants and we're awarded some, which we have been in the past, we try to really make it a point to use those funds to then compensate writers for their time. So that's when you'll see
I love it.
we'll do workshops. And we don't have huge budgets, but we're able to say, hey, we've put aside a few $100s. Are you able to come and facilitate a workshop to kind of
Oh,
increase that connection? So it's really important to us that when we do get grant funds, that we are investing it into our community of writers and compensating people for their art and their craft. So
that's
it happens.
amazing.
Always, but grants take time, so
Yeah.
I always want to get better at it, but then I'm like, oh, work.
Oh, I know. It's a lot. But I mean, if you look at you've been around for 11 years, you're right on track. I mean, let's just say it. Like it's very impressive how much it's grown and the niche that you've filled,
Yeah,
and fostering creativity because we all know even through the pandemic, we need community. And so that's
absolutely.
exactly what you're providing. Um, I want to, on that same line of questioning, turn to the publications. What can you tell me about the CC publications?
Yeah. So we everything from the beginning was like, can we do this? Can we start an anthology? And so we've had an annual publication every year except for last year. Scheduling conflicts and all that didn't quite work out, but we're in production for our Creative Colloquy Volume 10, which is really
Woo!
exciting. I feel like it's just a really fun process, and it's exciting because all of the submissions we get are via blind submissions. So we have an editorial
Mm.
committee that reads each piece, that really kind of considers it, votes on it, and then we kind of come together and say, okay, here's how many submissions we got, here's how it kind of came out. And there's no theme. It really is like, you've got kind of a word count limit and that's it. Send, you've got creative
Yeah.
freedom. And we get poetry, essays, short stories, we get experimental pieces.
Mm.
Um, and then what we do once we select all of the pieces for publication is we do outreach to local artists here in the Tacoma area. And we'll send them a couple for consideration and, say, hey, if it resonates, would you consider creating a visual piece to
Mm.
accompany it? So we don't even know what the book looks like literally until it's finished. So it really is
Wow.
exciting. Like we just leave it up to like the cosmos, we curate the artist a bit, but they also have full creative freedom. Like we've gotten
Yeah.
collage, photography, sketches, digital art. And so when it comes together, you're like, it is like a little magical, like human alchemy thing that happens. That's really exciting. And then even the authors of the pieces don't know what the art's going to look like until that final book is all put together. So it's kind of like a
Oh,
creative practice.
it's like literally magic because there's no way you could go wrong unless it's something really offensive, which I could never imagine.
Right.
But you're just tapping into that, literal magic of Tacoma.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's
Oh,
just so much trust. I say often that like Creative Colloquy, although I founded it, like it is not mine. This is not my
yeah.
organization. This really is like a community effort. Like we would be
Mm,
nothing without the people that show up to share, that show up to listen, that submit their work. Like it's such a collective effort.
mhm.
And so I'm just really honored that we get to kind of like hold the torch and watch it shine.
Yes. Um, And if somebody wants to purchase past or any of the CC publications, where would they go for that?
Well, we often have them at our events. So if you come to any of our open mic events that happen on the third Monday of the month, you can purchase them there in person. King's Books has all of them, I think, or at least most of them. So you can always go to King's Books. That's kind of our local indie bookshop that, have
Yeah.
supported us from the get-go. And they are, I mean, if you're out of town, if you can't get it from King's or get it from the events, they are available on Amazon, which is definitely one of those things that we struggle with of like,
Yeah.
but a lot of folks are transplants or have family out of town. And so having the availability, because we don't have like a space where we're printing and we can just ship them out, it is
Yeah.
convenient that as an option. So those are our
Um,
events currently.
no judgment on the Amazon thing. I'm still struggling. I disconnected um my Prime, and then I kind of I'm still ordering a little. I'm just like, oh, I'm trying so hard.
It's hard.
Um,
It's hard.
it's so hard. It's a process, you know. It's like
Yeah, it
getting off
is.
of sugar.
It is.
Okay, so I recently saw a post where you got keys to an office for
Oh,
CC.
yes. So we've been remote for always. It's just me kind of, crouched over my computer, kind of doing things at home. Um, but from the very start, like we've dreamed about kind of having a space. The ultimate dream is I'm like, gosh, it'd be so great if we had like a benefactor and we had a Hugo House sort of situation where like it had open hours that people could come and write and do
Yeah.
workshops and connect. But we had an opportunity through Spaceworks. They have a really great space in the Mecca building here in downtown Tacoma. And they were just hitting up those who were Spaceworks alumni, which we are. We went through their business incubator, which was really enlightening, like just as far as it goes with business processes and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. But they'd reached out, and it just felt like the right opportunity. Like it was an approachable price point. The lease wasn't like a super long-term commitment, and it was something that was like, well, let's try it and see if it resonates with
Yeah.
folks. Let's get workshops, because you wouldn't think so, but it's really difficult to find venues and the proper places to connect for workshops or readings or
Oh,
things
I
like that.
believe it. It's
It's kind of a
expensive.
constant struggle. Yeah. And a lot of folks, there's some resistance, or there's, hours availability that are kind of restricted. And we really wanted something that we could just kind of call our own and call people into space to connect
Yeah.
during time. So we have some programming coming up in May in the space. We
Woo.
have a great workshop with Ever Jones, and we also have we're going to be doing Julia Cameron's The Artist Way and
Yes.
inviting folks into the space. Dresca Trujillo will be leading that,
Wow.
and just like a monthly gathering. So we're hoping to do more and more of that, of just encouraging people to come in and share space and write together and create community. So I'm really excited
Yeah.
about having a physical space we can kind of call our own.
I truly feel that it's going to be more beneficial than you even can imagine, because you're not used to defaulting to like, oh, we can just meet at X.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to find time and time again, I'm sure, over the next few months, like, bam, it's going to
Yeah,
make
I
things
think
grow.
removing that obstacle of trying to find out where feels right is just going to
Yeah.
benefit so much programming. So I'm looking forward to a year where we can really beef up, our programming
Yeah.
availability and connecting more often with folks where we can.
So, listeners, if anybody out there wants to sponsor future Hugo House in Tacoma, you heard it here first.
I'm
Let's do
here
it.
for it. Yeah. Let's talk. Call me.
Yep, let's manifest. Excellent. Okay, so I want to turn a little more to your events. What you touched on some of your May programming. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts. What can people expect at your third Monday of the month. You've done some pub crawls.
Yep.
You've done some really cool stuff. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, we do. I feel like CC shines brightest when we have the opportunity to connect. We love publishing opportunities, both online and in print. But when there's that exchange, it just hits different. So we have a third Monday of the month, literary reading and open mic that occurs at the New Frontier Lounge, which is right by
Ah,
the Tacoma Dome. It's a sweet spot, a lot of character. They're really good to us. It's cozy. They've got good food and drink. It's just a rad place. We've been there for a year now.
wow.
Post pandemic, we really struggled, I think, with finding like our roots. And I don't think people were, it took time to be ready to kind of connect in person again. We had like a lot of momentum,
Yeah.
and then there was pandemic. We were connecting on Zoom. But I feel like, especially this year, I'm like, oh, we're back, baby. Like we've got our stride, we found our home. It feels good. But we always start those events with featured readers. So people either that are promoting their own publications or kind of doing their book rounds, or people who have submitted their work and they're published by us. We invite them out to share their work. So we have usually a
Mhm.
lineup of 3 to 5 folks that'll share their work, and then we do a little break and we open it up for open mic where anyone can sign up. There's not a cutoff as far as it goes with how many people. The rules are essentially you have 5 minutes to share so that it gives everyone an opportunity. Be respectful. And
Mhm.
I always joke, but I say no erotica because there's a time and a place for that. And so
There is an actual fair for that.
yeah, like there you can go there. I'm like, you could be a little sexy, but don't get crazy over here, guys. And those are the rules. And so it's really fun because it's just such a diverse group of
Yeah.
of writers and creatives, experience levels, all genres,
Mhm.
all backgrounds. It never ceases to kind of amaze me, like how people will come up and be like, this is my first time ever reading, and that makes my heart like
Oh,
so happy because it makes me like, yes, we are here for one another. There's no like snootiness around like who's invited to the table. Like this is for everybody who wants to come
yeah.
and share. And the CC community, like they really celebrate one another. We even had somebody from Seattle come down this last month, and they're like, well,
Wow.
you're so respectful here, like you guys are, we're used to like trying to compete with bar noise, but you guys are so quiet and like listening. And I'm like, yeah, because we're here for it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that makes my heart really happy. Just like it shows how much that folks are showing up for one another, whether they're
Yeah.
sharing well or not. So it's a great community
Uh,
on those Mondays. Yeah.
I love it so much. We're going to come back to more on CC, but I wanted to ask you. So I've known you for a long time, through Tacoma and the periphery and everything. You used to sling drinks, and my question is, how has your slinging drinks, being in the community, your love for food, how has that fed what you do now, especially with CC?
That's a good question. Um, I find my experience in the industry, I really have a heart. There's something special about breaking bread with people,
Mhm.
which is why we've always done events in venues that had food and drink, because I feel like even if someone just wants to like spectate or feel it out or see what the vibe is before they share, they can come and be like, I'm just going to have like a cocktail or a burger and just kind of like
Yeah.
check it out. And so it kind of it's like a social lubricant in a way where it's like, you can come and everyone enjoys a good meal or a good drink.
Yeah.
And so like my heart for that, because I'm very passionate about food and drink. I find in my own writing, even I'll be writing an essay about, I don't know, some childhood memory, and somehow like food weasels its way into everything. Like it just for me is like so intertwined with memory and experience. And so I feel like tying that into how we do events and like having them in venues like this is a really important part. And I think really there's just a two, I'm a Leo moon. So there's a part of
Mm.
me, I think, being a bartender and an MC, that I'm like, there, I just can't get out of it. Every time I'm like, why do people give me the microphone? I don't know why I'm here. But I feel like there's a part of me, like, whether I was bartending and inviting people to the rail to have conversation or have a certain curated experience around food and drink and conversation, I feel like that just translated into how we do CC events as well. So,
Yes.
you
And
know,
I love that. I love that, because connecting in the community with everything that you've done, that like it's so fascinating to me, how our past lives inform what we currently are doing and how, oh, I met that person at this place I was working or through the volcano and how it all intertwines. And so no experience you've ever done is ever wasted because it just builds on each other. Um, that said, I wanted to ask you about, because it just came to me, are there any new places in Tacoma that are your favorite, or just your old standbys that are your favorite for
mm-hmm.
food?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, there has been so many new places that I haven't checked out yet. And I'm just ashamed of myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, we gotta go here, we gotta go here. And I've heard good things about here. Um,
What's your like standby for date night, like your place, if
okay,
you
it
have
depends
one?
on the vibe. If I'm going for like a steak and like romantic vibe, Over the Moon Cafe is a
Oh,
hidden gem. Like you gotta go. They're under new ownership, but my understanding is they've really kind of maintained like the soul of the place and really like just exquisite food, a cool little vibe. They have these little boxes with people's love letters to one another over the
oh,
years inside of it, and I'm like, it's adorable. I love it. Yeah, and I love and Rama is another
oh,
that's solid. But there's so many good places. I mean, the Tacoma food scene just continues to evolve, and like the
yeah.
growth that's happening. I'm like, again, I now that I'm not doing food writing, at one point in time, like it was my job. I'm like, I have to go to all these
Ah.
places, and that gave me a good excuse to like really stay up to date. And now I'm like, I'm just slacking a little bit, but those
It
are some of
happens
my
though.
favorites.
Yeah, my husband and I, we get in a rut, so I feel you. Can we talk about that? Just reminded me the ramen. Okay, one of the best meals I've ever had in my whole life was at Pacific Grill. Uh,
Mm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the ramen that they had there. They had a little ramen menu.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a bar. Yeah. And it might have been short-lived, but wowza, that
Mm-hmm.
place was cool. I miss it.
Yeah. If you come out to Tacoma, a really great place to try, if you haven't come out more recently, is Field Bar.
Okay.
They hold themselves to a certain standard, like quality of experience and ambiance and food and drink that um, is actually pretty unique here in Tacoma. We have a lot of phenomenal places, but they just knock it out of the park. So if you
Yeah.
come to Tacoma, go there. That's a great date night spot too.
Okay. I love it. Oh my God. Um, okay, before we move on to a couple other things, my other question along the lines of your favorite restaurant, what is on your TBR list right now? Do you have any books that you are reading or want to recommend?
Man,
I know.
man, because my to be read list continues to grow.
It's
I am definitely the guilty person that continues to buy books and buy books and buy
me
books.
too.
And then I'm
Me
like,
too.
I should probably read some of these. And let me think. Gosh, oh, I don't even know. I recently read Robin Wall Kimmerer's most recent The Service Berry.
Ooh.
Really a quick read. It's just a little book, much shorter than Braiding Sweetgrass. But felt like very timely for some reason when I read it. It just kind
Mhm.
of felt like in a season where like mutual aid and caring for one another is really, I think, important. That book definitely just felt like the perfect time to read it. I read that recently. Yeah, I can't even point out just one because I just literally have like a pile that I'm neglecting right now, and I feel a little guilty.
So I just got back from a trip, and I'm going to be very direct. I'm a very slow reader, but I adore books and bookstores. I can't get enough. I think it's the best thing in the world. And I yesterday went to Barnes and Noble because I live up here, drove to Linwood, and I got the something of alchemy. It's John Baptiste's wife. She just came out with like a book or a memoir about journaling, kind of
Mm.
journaling through cancer. And so yeah, I got that. Like I love the hunt and collecting the books, but do I actually read them? You know, but
Yeah,
but I cherish them nonetheless, you know?
absolutely. My go-to definitely memoir, just I really enjoy kind of other people's perspective and life experience. I think that it's just one of those things that I'm endlessly a little obsessed with, just kind of
Yeah.
like, how do people articulate that? How do they
Yeah.
share? What do they choose to share? And then you think about like writing, because I a lot of my personal work that is not yet published is very intimate and not all glamorous. And then you're like, well, how much of this do I share? And like my family's gonna see it. What are they gonna think about
Mhm.
that? And so it really is
Yeah.
like I have such respect for people who write memoir and kind of take that leap, because that's like just the next level of intimacy that is not for everybody.
Well, I can tell you from experience, my visual memoir I did, it's what Anne Lamott said. She said, if you don't want to be in my memoir or you didn't know like what I wrote, you should have behaved
Yeah.
better. And I'm like, yes, literally, I heard her say that on a video, and I was like, yes, permission. Because, yes, I will be honest, I did edit a couple of things, but not very much. I just went for the jugular because this is actually what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's scary, but highly recommend it. It's very healing.
I love mad respect for you, because it is. It's just I think it's a that is next level vulnerable, just putting it out
Yeah.
there.
On that note, because this podcast is all about living your dreams. If I'm gonna do the short tagline of this podcast, it's about living your dreams. So, what personally and professionally are your future dreams of where you want to go? I mean, I know you're in a very sweet spot right now, but what does Jackie want to do next? Is it publish a book or?
I definitely Publishing my own personal work is definitely on my list of things. Just because things have been kind of a constant work in progress, and I think I'm ready for some paper pages. But I think
Mm,
ultimately, like my big dream, and it sounds like such a silly thing, but I think I was at a time in my life where I was experiencing a lot of scarcity. I was a single mom. I was having to work two jobs. It was really like paycheck to paycheck. And being in a position in my life now where, I have an abundance of some things, um, having the ability to carve out space to just support
mm,
my friends and neighbors and support the creative community, whatever I find myself doing, I always want and hope for it to be rooted in that. Because
I
I
love it.
think that at one point in time I never thought that to be possible. And so having, being able to kind of head an organization like Creative Colloquy or work at a place like Foster's Creative really
Yeah.
fulfills that in so many ways, because like, I get to do this. Like I have an opportunity that just wasn't afforded to me earlier in life. And I think younger me would be like really kind of in awe of like, oh wow, cool. Like you did it. You crawled out of the trenches and able to kind of provide support in whatever way I know best to. Is it always the right way? Maybe not. And you're always working on that. Like, does this event support people the way they need to be supported, or do we need to do
Mm,
it differently? And so I just hope whatever I find myself doing until, I'm old and gray, that
Mhm.
it can be rooted in that, just, and instill that in my kids too. I think it's really, um, that they see that and they kind of recognize that, like, and we're going into like the mom zone, but I think it's important for
Yeah.
kids to see that their parents, like, yes, a part of my identity is being a parent, but also it's not, that's not my sole identity. We have these other things that we're passionate
Yes.
about, caring for other people and kind of like taking that care kind of beyond just the household, I think is a really important value. So those are kind of things like my dream, which sounds so, I know it doesn't sound like, I want to be a doctor. Um,
Yeah.
it is like whatever it looks like, because I honestly like don't know, like maybe I'll go and do this other thing, but I hope whatever that other thing is, that it's ultimately rooted in kind of those same values.
Well, it sounds like what you're saying is it's more of what you already are doing, really, and which is beautiful. Like that's an amazing place to be, and it just shows that you have gratitude for what you have in front of you, and it's not about chasing X, or whatever the idea of success. Like you're like, I already hit the jackpot. And setting that example
Yeah.
for your kids is invaluable, really. And there's a lot of talk about relationships, marriage, and setting an example for your kids that way, but also doing it in addition with your vocation and with your passion project. Like it couldn't be better. And knowing you, like your Instagram and Facebook, I see, you post a lot about going on walks and the things
Yeah.
that you see. And, I could see more of that quiet space for you. Like that's what I see, is cherished, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I always
Yeah.
say, like, if there's ever time that I if I retire or I find myself unemployed for some reason, like I'm a really good meanderer. Like
Yeah.
I love a good walk where I'm just kind of moseying along, and I'm not worried about like my pace or my steps or even like the destination.
Yeah.
Really, like, just kind of looking around and noticing things, because it's difficult, right? Like we're living our lives in a very digital world, very
Yeah.
fast paced. Everyone's busy. I mean, you ask anyone, you're like, hey, how are you doing? Everyone's like, busy. Like that's the
Busy.
collective. And we're like, when did this happen that we're just busy all the
And we
time?
glorify it.
Yeah, and like that's what winning looked like. That's what we want to do. And so my Instagram is not necessarily a holistic reflection, because also
Yeah.
I'm busy and I'm doing Zoom calls and working and raising kids. But I feel like it's kind of that moment to be like, it gives me an
Right.
opportunity to. I like to revisit it, like, oh, that was a good walk. That was a good trip.
Yeah.
When we saw that snail,
Oh,
a moment of pause and all of the busyness that happens.
I would be so interested, like, I'm giving you a challenge to see a book of your walks, photographs, and then weaved in some of your writing. Like I'll be honest, I always struggled with, I studied a lot of different art forms in art school, including writing and photography and painting and blah, blah, blah. But I always struggled with the idea of being pigeonholed into doing an essay or a book. I'm like, I just can't do it. And so that's why I wanted to do visual memoir, because I wanted to just do whatever I wanted and just, it's not a lot of words, but, make them poignant, right? And yeah.
And they are, I mean, your books, I've had the opportunity to sit with them, and
Mm.
there's so much texture to
Yeah.
that way of storytelling that is approachable. You can even take it like bite-sized pieces,
Mhm.
and really beautiful. So like,
Thank you.
maybe I'll take that challenge. I don't know what that looks like, but
Well, my recommendation is start putting them in a journal or your scraps of paper, if you rip them out or whatever it is, put them in a box. And then what I did is I scanned them all and then I went from there. But you don't have to scan them all. You could transcribe them all,
yeah.
Yeah. And throw photos in there, throw scraps of, your beautiful, photographs of nature. There's just so many cool things. Like the way that you see the world is so unique. And so, yeah. I love it. So speaking of future, creative colloquy, I know we kind of already talked about dreams and hopes, but are there any additional, like if you could see it as the biggest, brightest future, or maybe smallest, brightest future, what would you dream for creative colloquy?
Oh man. I'm always kind of daydreaming. I think about Creative Colloquy so much. It really is kind of I'm obsessing all the time about like what we could do. And I think ultimately we'll always continue as long as it serves the community, as long as we show that folks feel a need for it, it resonates, we'll continue
Yeah.
to do the third Mondays. We'll continue to publish online. We did mention earlier a little bit, but the crawl, the Creative Colloquy crawl,
Oh,
that's every
yeah.
October. And that's like our large scale, really, it's like 15 events happening in a 3 hour time period, some at the same time. And so
Ah,
you have like each time slot has like a selection of venues and storytelling that you can go to. And there's themes, and some of it's poetry specific. People are painting, people are singer songwriters are showing up. We're kind of partnering different themes together and encouraging people to show
yeah.
up. So you can choose your own itinerary and say at 6 o'clock, I'm going to go here and I'm going to see these guys. And then at 7 o'clock, I'm going to go here and I'm going to see these guys. And at 8 o'clock. And so everyone's experience of the crawl is different because they might have a little different, they Tetris their schedule together differently.
Mm,
And it's fun to see people kind of come together afterwards. And, while I coordinate some of the readings myself, and then we also partner with just community collaborators, people in the community
mhm,
that are also passionate about storytelling, to carve out like, here's your hour, what venue would you like, what theme would you like to explore, what readers do you
mm,
want to encourage to show up. So it's not just our community, but we're really trying to kind of cast that net to like, let's bring in all sorts of storytellers, even ones that aren't
yeah.
familiar with CC, to kind of be a part of this thing. And we've seen a really great response to that. I mean, it's our
Mm,
best attended event, and I think people really, they feel the love. Like
yeah.
it's a fun thing to do. Um,
I have so does that coincide with the Tacoma Arts Month, the
it does.
studio
Yep.
tours?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's not a part of
Ah,
the studio tours itself. But we do it in October because it is Tacoma Arts Month. And so that's kind of our big, let's celebrate storytellers in the way that
mm,
we know how. And we modeled it after there's like a lit crawl organization, Lit Quake, and they were doing a Seattle lit crawl for some time. Um, and it really was just like, wow, well, we could do that, right? Let's give it a
yeah.
shot. And even during COVID, we were doing Zoom lit crawls. And so it would be
Ah,
a weekend long where you had 7 events you could attend, morning, noon, and night throughout the whole weekend, and kind of come and Zoom in to enjoy storytellers.
mm,
But having a person, it's way different. So that's definitely
mhm,
programming that I hope just continues to like flourish, because
yeah.
again, it's just so diverse, and it really gives us an opportunity to challenge what people might think storytelling needs to look like. um
Yeah.
and infuse, kind of pair people together, and have the painting and the music and the
Oh,
poetry and the sci-fi and all the things happening in one evening. So those are the core things that I hope we continue to do. But again, with this new space, like I want more opportunities, even if someone was like, hey, I really want to do a workshop and I just don't know where to go. If
yeah.
if their values align with ours, like, we encourage them to come and hit us up, like, come and talk to me, and like we can provide that space where you can
Okay.
connect and lead workshops. So I'm
And it
really
could
hoping
be even like art or there could
100%.
be so many different things, music. Yeah.
Yeah, because all of that is storytelling, right? Like,
Hmm.
we're doing it through different mediums, but even if it was like, I want to do a photography class, you're like, that is also storytelling. And that's why
Yeah.
we infuse that into our print publications too, because they complement one another. They have the heart
Yeah.
for the same thing, and we just do it in different ways. So I'm really hoping, like, ultimately one day maybe we have like a true brick and mortar open hours storefront space. I would love for that. It's like my 5-year plan.
I love
I
it.
or my husband and I talk about opening. He has also been in the restaurant industry his whole life. And we've talked about opening our own space and having
Yeah.
be you know, food and beverage, but also a space where people can host events. And that would be kind of our home base naturally, because, you know, we kind of
Yeah.
carve that out. But I'm also working on doing a writer's retreat, which I've talked about
Woo!
for years. But this year I was like, this is the year we're going to get a space. We're going to do a writer's retreat. And then we're going to kind of keep our core things and see what resonates. So really,
Yeah.
depending on how people respond to those things, like I I approach it in a very fluid manner. And I really like, if the community shows up and they say, this isn't it, there's not a space for it, it doesn't really support, then I'm listening, and like programming will
Yeah.
look whatever it needs to look like to support folks. And if one day I show up to a CC open mic and it's just me hanging out, I'll know, you know what? We had a good run. We have impacted so many folks. They've impacted me.
Yeah.
My best friends I've met through just the years. And so it really is kind of like, what can it look like? I have some thoughts of what I hope to accomplish, but also if we try something and it doesn't work, that's okay too. You know?
Yeah, just being in the flow and, listening, and really that's sounds like the essence of true community, because you're listening to your people and then you're responding, and providing a space. Um, One thing I want to touch on is the Tacoma Arts Month is in October, and I remember, living in Tacoma and just that quintessential. There's, I believe, the first week of October, the film festival, and going to the Grand, and the rain coming down, and it just is like the perfect month to celebrate the arts because it's quintessential Pacific Northwest.
Yep. Yeah,
um,
I think it definitely, because the days are getting a little darker,
yeah.
school started, like it definitely is the perfect season. And again, like it just supports so many different art forms. You know, they do a
Yeah.
really great job in kind of pulling in programming and amplifying that for folks.
Yeah, and also, real quick, we're gonna wrap up soon, but I just want to touch on, one thing that we touched on real quick before we started is your work with the volcano and the art bus. I mean, I've never seen, I mean, I grew up in Everett, so we have like fresh paint, we have the Shack Art Center, but the level of creative, community that's built. What has your experience been with those, doing the volcano, the art bus, anything else, in the city been like?
Yeah, I think Tacoma is really unique because it's so interconnected. Somebody once said something to the effect of like, Tacoma is small enough where if you wanted to like do something, you can, but big
Yeah.
enough that when you do that, it makes a real impact. Um,
Mm,
and that has always resonated with me because it feels so true, and we're like a big town, really. We're not this
yeah.
huge metropolis. We are a city, but everyone's so interconnected. And I think Tacoma also is really good. Like, we're our own best cheerleader. I think that there's
Mm,
definitely, you got the grit city kind of
yep.
tagline. We've got like, we're the little sister city to our bigger friends up north.
Yeah.
And a little like scrappiness to that. And there's a part of me where I'm like, I feel like we've outgrown that a little bit, but
Mm,
also it has served us well in that,
mm.
like when a new restaurant opens, we're showing up. When
Woo!
a new gallery opens, like we're just like, yeah, like,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
let's go. And I love that because, again, like we see it at Creative Colloquy. Tacoma Art Bus was the same thing where it was like,
Yeah.
there's just something special that happens when you make it approachable. I think that's first and foremost. When I was writing for the Volcano or City Arts magazine, like for me, I wanted to make good food and drink and the arts accessible. Like this is not, we're not
Yeah.
gatekeeping. This is for everyone, you know. And I think that doing that and then show, like, don't just talk about it, be about it. You know, you got to show up
Uh-huh.
too.
Got to
And so
get out.
you got to get out there. And I think Tacoma does a great job of that. Like it's just really unique because um it is so interconnected and it is a diverse community. And you know,
Yeah.
now I think even with the growth, um we kind of continue to see that we have a lot of transplants, but
Hmm.
you know, I also don't think that we can gatekeep from, you know, if like, oh, you're not from around here. Like, no, you know, if you're here and if you're investing yourself in community, like you're a part of
It's,
this too. Like your DNA and
yeah.
what you bring to the table is so valuable as well. And so
Yeah.
I think the Tacoma is just great like that. Like I am a big, you know, I've lived in the Tacoma area my whole life. And I'm a lifer. Like
Yeah.
I just don't see myself going anywhere else because Tacoma just checks a lot of boxes as far as I'm concerned. I'm
Mhm.
like, this is home. This is where it's at.
Yeah, I've always felt that, and I'm sure I've talked about this in another episode, but I've always felt that Tacoma had that pioneer spirit where, it was so accessible, and affordable. I'm speaking to, I don't know now, but it was accessible and you could just, get in there and do your thing. And there was no hiding it or shame. There was such an embrace of the creativity. Oh, you want to start a business? Oh, you want to add some flavor? Like this is the place to do it,
Yeah. Yeah. And I love
Yeah.
that. There is an embrace. I love that word for it
Yeah.
because it does feel that way. It really, it feels that way. It's good stuff. So move
Yeah,
back.
I know, right? Well, we've talked about it. There, there is something about, the arts and in general, the arts and it being, it can be a turnoff when it's, what's the word, exclusive, like elitist,
Yep.
and Tacoma doesn't have that at all that I could ever see,
Yeah.
or imagine, across the board. And that element of like growing together, that
Yeah.
as you're there and embracing the young ones who come in, and
Mhm.
different, hilltop and just all of that, the museum of
Yeah.
glass.
You
Yeah.
got the east side, you got
uh,
downtown, you know. And I think too, when things do come in and are elitist and kind of gatekeepy, I think they probably don't last that long because
right.
it just stinks of
it's
an aroma that we do not like and will not tolerate for the most part, you know.
it's
So
not the vibe.
you're like, get out of here.
Yeah, yeah. um I just want to kind of wrap up with, is there anything else that you want the audience to know?
Oh gosh. No, honestly, I mean, for me, like, you know, I love what you're doing here and kind of like dreaming with people and
Yeah.
having these conversations. And I think really like be open to those conversations, like carve out space for them. Talk to
Yeah.
strangers, you know, like it
Yes.
feels like a weird time, but I think that in this season more than any, you know, having empathy and having like increased connection with people kind of outside of your direct circle of influence is so important. And if that means like
Yeah.
maybe you go to an event that, you know, kind of pushes you out of your comfort zone, do it because
Yeah.
we learn so much. Like it's so nourishing, but like you also learn so much that I think you wouldn't even recognize otherwise if you didn't kind of check out these creative
Step
events.
out, because
Yeah.
you will be embraced.
Yep.
I went to this talk a long time ago with Liz Gilbert, and she said, she talked about, she had written that book, Big Magic, about following your curiosity, and creativity. And she gave a part of her story was she just asked her hairdresser, what are you excited about? And her hair, the lady doing her hair, she was like, they just found life on Mars or something like that. And she got really excited. So I encourage everybody to go out there and just say, hey, what are you excited about? Because
Yeah.
everybody's got to be excited about something, whether it be, the lunch that they're about to eat, or, building a new house, or who knows, going to space. I just think it's
Whatever
fascinating.
it is.
Yeah. And there's so many times when, maybe we don't feel like we fit in because we don't, we're not the best with computers or this and that. But, whoever that person is, not good with computers, you ask them about how to train animals or something, or write books, and they're like a wealth of knowledge and they're very excited about it. So, everybody just has different things that they're into. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
so
people tend to
good.
be pretty generous, with
Yeah,
themselves if they're just invited to be, honestly.
exactly.
It's good
Ooh,
stuff.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, thank you, Jackie. This is a great convo, and
You.
you make me miss Tacoma.
Well, it's here. If you want to come hang out, let us know. I'll
Yeah,
put some more food recommendations.
yay.
Yeah, thank you so much for just inviting me here just to have a dialogue, and it's good to
Yeah,
see your face and connect.
you too. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm so grateful you were able to join us today. Please share and like and review this podcast. Also, if you have any comments or questions about anything, I would love to hear from you. You can reach me at julietteRicci@gmail.com, and info is in the show notes. Till next time, have a great week.